Welcome back, Android, Sketchware, Java developers. Today, we're going to create a game, a multiplayer game, using Firebase. So let's take everything we learned using Firebase and make a small little multiplayer game, just for fun. So let's level up your coding knowledge, even more. Test it. 2024. Droidly Codes. That is right, Sketchware Android developers. Today is break day. We're going to take a break from doing the main coding stuff and have a little bit of fun. So a little bit of fun in regards to creating a kind of multiplayer game in a sense, where you could use Firebase to actually move a player around with one device and then move that same exact, or move another player around with another device kind of thing. So how we're going to do this is we're going to create a new application inside of our already application that we're working in right now, just to keep it simple so we don't have to set up a new Firebase and all that stuff. We're just going to create a new application or Android activity that is inside of here called our fun little game. Now, if you don't want to watch this video, still subscribe and have a little bit of fun. Fun little multiplayer game activity is what we're going to call this, because I think it's nice to not have to learn all the time about things, because it's just a lot in your brain. And I know it's the school year, so a lot of people have to go to school and learn a lot of stuff, and having a little bit of fun while you're learning is the way to go, I think. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to start off. Now, this isn't the logical way to create a game, by the way. This is just a fun little way to make a game. We're going to start off by creating a component. We're going to create a component called multiplayer database, and then we're going to just go MP data, just like this. This is just going to be our multiplayer data. Okay, so we're going to add this, and when we go on child added and on child changed, we're going to do a lot of our main work now. Firebase or Sketchware just crashed. Cancel. I don't know why Sketchware just crashed. Probably because I was doing stuff too fast there. So let's go back out, go back into our events tab and our component tab. Now, I don't know why I selected on cancel. That's just because, yeah, something happened. So on child changed, on child added. So that's what we just did there. We're going to do a lot of our main work when we actually go into this game. And how we're going to utilize this, we're actually going to utilize this by using our main activity by adding a user when we log in with our username. So we're just going to enter our username in here, and then we're going to log in with a fun button. So log in multiplayer user. Okay, so log in multiplayer. Okay, so that's going to allow you to log in with just a random username multiplayer, so that we can keep track of our position X and Y. And then when we log in, we're going to add that user to the database. So we're going to have to note what that database name was. What do we name that? I forget already. Multiplayer data. So MP data and multiplayer data. So MP data is our main database actual storage. So we're going to create another database in here. And when we actually hit the login button, so multiplayer game, and this was multi data, right? We'll have to check on that. Multi data. No, MP data. My mistake. Okay, go back to that. Get rid of this. Delete this component. And it was called MP data. So multiplayer database MP data. MP data. Okay, there we go. Data. So what we're going to do in here is we're basically just going to push some data to that database when we log in, and then when we leave this activity, so of course it didn't save my linear layout either for some reason, we're going to actually log out the user, so that when we go into our activity on create event, we're going to add a plus icon, and on pause, we're going to log out that user and basically close down the application. So how we're going to do that, we're going to create a few variables. This is going to be a lot. Okay, this is going to be a long video. It's going to be a lot to learn, but it's going to be a little bit of a fun thing that you and your friends can kind of mess around with if you want to, or you, whatever. We're going to add a variable in here. First variable is going to be our username. So we want to keep track of our username. And then we're going to create another variable called a map data variable. So map data for our hash map array. And on pause, it's going to send this information to our Firebase database. Sorry, go to your component. I was having a moment there for a second. And we're going to send our information delete key from our multiplayer database based off of our user's username. So we're going to delete that user's username, and then we're going to basically finish the activity. Now, we're not using anything like authentication or anything. We're just basically creating a piece of data, sending it to the database, and then when we on pause, we're going to delete that data and finish this activity and clear top, so that we don't have the ability to log in anymore. Sorry, not clear top, my mistake. So we don't have the ability to continue, seeing that player on the screen or anything like that. And then we're going to save this, and we're going to add 2 images. So our images are just going to be squares. So we're going to add, actually, let's just add 2 layouts. So we're going to add 2 layouts. This is going to be player 1, okay? And then I'm going to give it a background color of red for player 1. And our size is going to be 100 dp, 1000 by 100 dp. And we're not going to do things like work with collision and all that kind of stuff. I'll do that like maybe in future fun little video about collision. But what we're going to do with this is just basically make sure that we can move our players around. And it's going to be player 2, and background color, player 2 is going to be blue. Okay, that's player 1 and player 2. Now, what we're just going to do with this is basically we're just going to press on our linear layout, and the players are going to just go across the screen. So what we're going to do with that is we're going to grab our map variables, and we're going to send the data to only the child that is our username. So we're going to put key X, value of our view. So our view, we're going to get our position X, so we can get the actual position X with a block in our view section. So let's go and look for that block, translation X, which is right here. So that's what this is. So we're going to get the view of our player 1. So we are player 1 always, and player 2 is going to be the second player on the screen. We're going to send that information based off of our position. So we're going to add like a random number. How about that? We're going to do a random number. So we'll use a random block. There's a random block right here. So between 0 and 50. And this will be the game, or yeah, let's do 500. We'll do 500. We're going to set a random number block. Let's create a number variable here, num, and we're going to set that information. When we press this view, it's going to send our player and move our player, translation X. Oh, we're not actually going to handle that in here. We're going to handle that in the on-child change, by the way. So we're just going to send this information. We're going to go to our component. We're going to go to Firebase. We're going to add key to our multiplayer database based off this map data to our player's username. So if it's player 1 is our username, that's only going to send that data to that. Now we're going to go into our on child changed event, and if our child key equals our username, we're going to get that key value from our map into a variable. So let's grab that variable block, get map key X from this block right here, and we're going to set our translation of our X position to a number block based off the information that was just sent to the database. Okay, not sure why it's not letting me do that. I thought I used to be able to do that. So let's just create a string block for a second. Oh, get map key. My mistake. I'm grabbing the wrong map key. Grab the get key block. That is why. Not map key. Get key. There we go. So if our username equals our username in the database, we are going to get the translation of our player 1 and set it. So let's do our equals blocks. Child key equals username child key. It'll push our player based off of however many blocks plus the current position. So we need to do plus. Then we need to get the current position of that view, which is our player's view. Why does Sketchware keep doing that? Get translation X, and we're going to add that extra amount. So if it's 0 between 500 and it ends up being 200, it's going to handle that data in the database for that user. So else, we're going to do an else statement. So we'll do an if and else block. If child key not equals that, we are going to set the player 2 position based off of player 2's current position based off of the X value of player 2. Now, of course, we're only going to have 1 and 2 players basically playing this. This is only going to be a 2-player game for now, so that you can just have a little bit of fun with this. You could add more players. I will show you a cool flipping game that you could do with this down the road, but right now, that is all we're doing. Now, on child added. Okay, so what we could do with this is a couple different things. So if child key equals the actual username that is sent over here. We can do something like show visibility of player 1 to be visible. Otherwise, you could hide that, you know what I mean? So if you are not this child or whatever, but you're always going to see that. So what we're going to do with that is basically do a not statement, because no matter what, if you're logged in, you're going to see that visibility of the player 1 no matter what. But if you're not child key equals username, player 2 is going to be visible. Else, if it's not there, like if there's nobody actually logged in, we're going to make that invisible by setting it to gone. So if there's nobody logged in and they are just not there, then player 2 is going to be set to gone. So that's how that's going to work. Okay. So now when we click this view, we're going to add a set amount of data to the database between 0 to 500. We're going to set that position to X based off of our current position, which is not this. This is not going to be our actual X position. We're going to set it to that number block. Sorry about that. So we're going to send that piece of information to the database, basically saying, hey, we're adding a certain amount of data or a certain amount of position to that actual player so that he moves across the screen. So let's just test this out with player 1 for now. So what we're going to do in our onCreate, we're going to actually set our user's username in our string variable to get the information from our activity extra, and we're going to use username in here. So that's going to be our username from activity extra. And now we're going to go back to our main activity, and when we log in multiplayer, we're going to use our intent blocks. We ended up using these intent blocks in our last guide. So these intent blocks right here, we're going to set our screen from our multiplayer game and put extra key username. Make sure you spell it right, username, intent, and that's going to be based off of our text view for our username's name. And then that is this one right here. We're going to make sure that we start that activity. There it is right there, and we're good to go. Okay, now let's enter our username, and then I'm going to show you a bird's eye view of 2 different players logging in at the same time, and we'll have ourselves a fun little multiplayer game, sort of. All right, so enter username. I'm going to do poop1 as username number 1, poop1, I don't know. Multiplayer logged in, okay? Now our login information is set to our database. And call me a liar because we didn't actually send this information yet. So let's log in this user first. So let's go to our component and let's send some information to the database first. So that's why I created that map block. So let's create this information, put key, username is going to be U, X. We're just going to use X, no Y variables or anything like that or Y positions. Now we're going to send that data to that database, multiplayer data. And let's go back down here. Let's go to Firebase and add this key map data to multiplayer database based off the username. Okay, and we're going to send the username information, and our X variable is going to be 0. Make sure you put a 0 in there or a 1, whatever position you want it to be set to, but set it to 0 by default because we're going to do like a little racing game where one after the other, it's kind of like a 1v1 game of, hey, I clicked this button, I made it to the end first or something. You can have a little bit of fun with this afterwards and mess around with it and change the way that you set it up and do whatever you want to do with it. Let's update it, give it a run. Username is going to be Bobby1, okay? Login multiplayer. Now, as you can see, we don't have another user logged in here, and that is because we are the only player in this game right now. So if we go back here, app data, when we leave, we pause the game, we log out. So that information is gone. So Bobby1. Now I'm going to actually split these up, okay? So that's what I'm going to do so we can actually see this information being sent at the same time so that we don't have this issue and log in. So here is Bobby1. And now if I press on the screen, we've set our Bobby1 to go 271 DP across the screen. If I press it again, only another 115, press it again, 265, and Bobby1 just won the race, okay? So that's pretty cool. Now, if we exit the app, then Bobby1 has been logged out and you won't be able to see him anymore. Now, I'm going to install this on another actual device, and then we can see this on screen happening in real time. All right, so I got 2 devices with the same app installed. So I'm going to do Bob1 on the left, log in my multiplayer, and Joom on the right, I guess, log in multiplayer. So as you can see, we have our multiplayer player on the left-hand side logged in, and we have our June logged in and able to move the player across the screen. Now, as you noticed, our player 2 on this side is not actually showing, and that is because we haven't done anything in the child change to actually show this information. So that is going to be something for future. So basically, we've just created some sort of a multiplayer game that will allow us to go and log in our player, move them across the screen, and oh, there we go. See, as I said, I'm going to leave that up to you guys to actually figure this out. So yeah, if we exit both of these games and we go back into them, for example, I know it's not really fully a game, but we're going to go username U, username Y, log in, done, log in. Now we have both the users on screen. Now I think it might have been just a bug, but there we go. And yeah, we can see the user on the screen. Now, of course, this isn't the most logical way to do this because different screen dimensities and all that kind of stuff, it's not going to be the most perfect game, but it is a cool way to see how the data works, and pushing two different objects across the screen is kind of a cool thing to make a multiplayer game. Have a nice day, guys. Hope you enjoy. See you next time for some more coding fun.